Hello guys, my name is Yana and today's topic is the past continuous tense, also known as the past progressive. For today's agenda we have: what is past continuous? Then the uses of the past continuous. How to form an ing verb? Then we have the practice number 1, the past continuous structures, and finally the practice number 2. Don't worry, I promise grammar isn't as scary as it looks. By the end of this lesson, you'll see the past continuous is actually one of the easiest and most useful tenses in English. So, let's get started. First of all, what is the past continuous? The past continuous or past progressive is used to describe actions that were in progress at a certain moment in the past. These actions started before that moment and finished later. For example, I was studying for my exam. This sentence tells us that studying was an ongoing action in the past. We don't focus on when it started or when it ended, only that it was happening. Now that we know what it is, let's see when we actually use it. There are 3 main uses of the past continuous. The first use is for an action that was interrupted by another action. For example, he was talking with his friend when his dad called. The long action is talking, and the short action that interrupted is called. It's like watching your favorite series and suddenly your internet stops working. The series was playing until something interrupted. The second use is to describe 2 actions happening at the same time. For example, I was cleaning while my mom was cooking. Both actions were happening simultaneously. And the third use is to talk about an action that was in progress at a specific time in the past. For example, I was doing exercise at 4 p.m. The important thing here is the specific moment, not the beginning or the end of the activity. Now that we know when to use it, let's learn how to form it. The past continuous is a compound tense. We use the auxiliary verb was or were, followed by the main verb in its ing form. So the formula is very simple. The subject plus was or were plus the verb in ing form. Once you remember this formula, building sentences becomes much easier. But wait, have you ever wondered how to form ing verbs? Luckily, there are only a few basic rules. Rule number 1. For most verbs, simply add ing. For example, work becomes working. Easy enough. Rule number 2. If a verb ends in E, remove the E before adding ing. For example, make becomes making. However, remember the exception. If the verb ends in EE, YE, or OE, keep the E. For example, see becomes seeing. Rule number 3. If a one-syllable verb ends in consonant, vowel, consonant, double the last consonant. For example, run becomes running. But don't double the final consonant if it is W, X, or Y. For example, fix becomes fixing. Finally, if the verb ends in IE, change it to Y before adding ing. For example, die becomes dying. These rules may seem like a lot, but after a little practice, they become automatic. Now, let's do a quick practice. Write the ing form of each verb. Here we have write, lie, and swim. Take a few seconds to think about their ing form. Time is up. The answers are write becomes writing, lie becomes lying, and swim becomes swimming. If you got all three correct, great job. If not, don't worry. That's exactly why we're practicing. Now that we know how to form ing verbs, let's move on to the sentence structures. Let's begin with the affirmative sentences. The structure is first the subject, then the auxiliary verb was or were, and then the verb in ing form. Remember, we use the auxiliary verb was with the subjects I, he, she, and it, and the auxiliary verb were with the subjects you, we, and they. Here are some examples. I was sleeping, she was driving, they were camping. Very simple, right? To make negative sentences, we only need to add not to the auxiliary verb. So the structure becomes first the subject, then the auxiliary verb wasn't or weren't, and then the verb in ing form. Here are some examples. He wasn't studying, you weren't cleaning, we weren't watching. Nothing else changes. Now, let's make questions. This time, we simply move the auxiliary verb to the beginning of the sentence. So the structure is was or were plus the subject plus the verb in ing and the question mark. For example, was it working? Was she running? Were they cooking? As you can see, it's very similar to the affirmative structure, just with the auxiliary verb at the beginning. Another important point is the use of while and when. These conjunctions help us connect actions in the past. In contexts where two actions occur simultaneously or when a long action was interrupted by a short one. While and when can appear at the beginning or in the middle of a sentence, but generally we use while to introduce an action that was already in progress, and we often use when to introduce the action that interrupted. For example, I was doing the laundry when the doorbell rang. While they were cleaning, their dad was cooking. Now, let's finish with a short activity. Choose the correct option for each sentence. I'll read each sentence and you can think of the answer before I reveal it. The first sentence is you blank talking on the phone. We have A, was, or B, were. The correct answer is B. were. Now the second sentence. They blank playing basketball. We have A, weren't, or B, wasn't. The correct option is A, weren't. And the last one. I was cleaning blank. My sister was doing homework. We have A, were, and B, while. The answer is B, while. And that's all for today's lesson. As we learned today, the past continuous help us describe actions that were happening in the past, interrupted actions, simultaneous actions, and actions at a specific time. Remember these 3 key ideas. Use was or were, add the verb in the ing form, and practice the structures until they become natural. Thank you very much for seeing this lesson. I hope this presentation helped you to understand the past continuous a little better. Bye bye!